Hi friends, it's Jamae with Big Sky Fluid Art. Today I'm going to work on a 2 foot by 4 foot canvas with a bunch of different techniques, and I just wanted to show you some of the tools I have ready, and then I'll just let you watch. At the end of the video I have all the paints and brands that I used. So hopefully you enjoy it. I hope it goes well. So today I'm going to do part Dutch pour. So I have my hair dryer here. I will use probably palette knife for swiping. I have a spouted cup and a funnel. I will be doing a container pour for part of it and a flip cup for a section of it. So it might turn out a disaster, but I have an idea in mind and I hope it'll work out. Thanks for watching. So I mix all my paints for this project with Floetrol and water, probably about 1 part paint to 4 parts Floetrol, and then I thin it with water until it flows off the stick is pretty loose. Not quite as loose as a Dutch pour, but I want it to run around the canvas pretty easily. And right now I'm preparing the container by pouring in little stripes of paint and layering them on top of the other. And then I'll tilt it on its side and let the paint flow out across the canvas. This is the technique I use for some of the Aurora Borealis paintings that I do, and any night sky paintings. I don't use silicone when I try this technique, and I still get great blending and cells because I combine opaque paints with pearlescent and metallic paints with a variety of different brands, which I show at the end of this piece. I know it's a bit hard to see here, but I'm moving the weight of the paint around the canvas to make sure I have all the sides covered, and I'm trying to stretch this container pour to about the middle of the canvas, where I'll have it meet with a Dutch pour coming from the top of the canvas, which will be the next type of pouring that I'll try in just a minute here. Now I'm layering 4 light colors of turquoise in a cup. For a flip cup, I'm going to add a little bit to the top of the container pour just to add a little extra paint there, and then flip that cup over and let it wait for a few minutes while I get the other part of the pour ready for the Dutch pour. Even though I'm not using silicone, this flip cup method still produces cells because of the different types of paint that I'm using, with a color shifting paint and a pearlescent, metallic, and opaque, all sort of dropped into that cup. This is the spouted cup, and I layer it like I would if I were doing a ring pour. So I kind of float the paints on top of each other, and that creates variegated stripes. It looks just dark from here, but there's different variations of blue and metallic blue, dark blue, and phthalo blue in that dark paint, and black. So now I'm getting ready for the Dutch pour. which is sort of difficult because I didn't mix the paints as thinly as I normally do for Dutch pours, because I was worried about it being a different consistency from the bottom paint, and I was also worried that the dark paint would show the canvas through as I stretch it. So it's a little bit thicker and it wasn't moving as well as I had hoped it would, but it just takes a little bit of time, and you can move it and stretch it a little bit, and I'll actually mix a little bit more turquoise paint too, because I didn't quite have enough for the effect that I wanted. But I love Dutch painting, and it's so fun to create subtle lacing through the use of air. I probably should have put an underlayer underneath where I was gonna do the Dutch pour, so the paint would have moved more smoothly across the canvas. But I do eventually end up working it into the spots that I want it to be. And then I'll tilt the canvas again, and that was also challenging because I had two separate areas that had weighted paint. So when I noticed the bottom, the container pour, moving at different speeds, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't ruining the effects I had on the top area with the Dutch pour. But I wanted to move the bottom container pour into that area that was missing paint on the right-hand side of the canvas. And I also didn't want to leave too much paint on the canvas, so I didn't have to deal with cracking or crazing as it dried. This is where I'm using a straw to create more detailed lacing and blending that I couldn't quite create with the hairdryer, especially since the paint was a little bit thicker. So I blow it around the canvas a little bit and make sure that everything is blending where I want it to be. And I also wanted to create some striping with contrasting colors, some light in the dark and dark in the light. When I use a funnel, I plug the bottom with my finger and I fill it up layering kind of floating paint on top of each other like I would for a ring pour, and I kind of plop it down on the canvas and control the amount of flow and the direction. I use this technique when I am making rivers and when I'm trying to really direct the flow of contrasting colors, like in this case, and in geodes. And the great thing is, without using silicone, this is one of the best ways that I've found to create cells. I, of course, use a combination of different paints, like whites and blacks are very cellular, and pearlescent and metallic mixed with opaques. So I do some kind of mix that will create cells without using silicone. And this is the fifth and last technique that I use on this canvas, which is a swipe with a palette knife and a white Amsterdam paint with a little Floetrol and thinned with water. And I'm just pouring a little bit of the white paint on and smoothing it with the palette knife. As many of you probably know, the Amsterdam paints are very cellular and are a good replacement for silicone. And they're fun to work with, but even if you don't have Amsterdam paints, you can use any kind of white titanium and it'll do a very similar effect. Here's a little flyover so you can see some of the details. I start with the white Amsterdam swipe and the lacing, delicate lacing with that, and then move to that purple and lavender and magenta from the funnel, and then into the container pour, which is those blues and greens. And then I follow the funnel pour up to where the Dutch pour was. So you can see all the lacing that came from the Dutch pour. And then at the very top, I actually added at the very end, which wasn't in the video, a little bit of that light teal paint with a little Amsterdam white just to kind of pop at the top. Here are all the paints I used, and if you have any questions, you can contact me through Big Sky Fluid Art on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching.